Back in December, when we started planning this event, the Chihuahuas were thrilled that A.J. Preller offered to be here. And we were even more thrilled when he became the talk of baseball a few days later. He acquired 3 Major League All-Stars and a former Rookie of the Year, all in a 2-day period. As Padres general manager, A.J. assembles the Major League roster. He oversees the farm system, oversees an entire baseball operations department, and makes decisions on international free agents also. It's a 7-day-a-week job, even in the winter. And we're excited A.J. made El Paso part of his first winter as Padres GM. So as we welcome A.J., take a look at the video.
A.J. Preller.
A.J. Preller.
A.J. Preller. A.J. Preller doing exactly what folks hoped he would do.
He's a GM rock star.
Matt Kemp.
Will Myers.
Justin Upton.
It's out of control.
I'm extremely excited to be here today introducing Matt Kemp as a member of the Padres.
I feel as though they've been announcing another trade every 8 or 10 minutes.
Will Myers.
He obviously is rebuilding his outfielder in a very aggressive fashion.
The latest reported acquisition, Justin Upton.
How about the Padres?
This is something we haven't seen in San Diego ever.
Another big deal pulled off by A.J. Preller.
That's definitely the first time I've gotten a rock star tag.
Rock star, man.
Buddy, maybe yes. Maybe
GM rock star, man. Making moves.
Let's give an El Paso ovation. Padres general manager A.J. Preller. Take a seat. Well, A.J.'s actually been to El Paso before. A couple weeks after he got the job, came here to a Chihuahuas game to evaluate the AAA team. What do you think of Southwest University Park?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when I first took the job, honestly, almost everybody throughout the Padres organization kept talking about, this AAA ballpark and the team and Pat Murphy and Cody Decker. And, I think it made it a priority to try to come here and see the situation myself. So I think it was the second to last game of the season. Joe Whelan was throwing and was able to come over here and spend the day in El Paso and lived up to what everybody talked about. I mean, I think sometimes when you walk into a ballpark, and over the last 15 years, probably been thousands of them, it just like resonates. You walk in, it just has a good feel to it. And whether it was, I think the first time I ever walked into Camden Yards or PNC Park in Pittsburgh, and the ballpark here was, it was one of those spots where you walked in and you said, wow, they got this right. And then as the game went along and you got a chance to see the way the fans reacted to the team, the way the club played, and then that night I had a chance to spend a lot of time with Pat and Jason Lane and the guys. Probably left about 2 o'clock. I knew this was a pretty special thing going on here in El Paso. So,
you talked about the great fans here in El Paso. Can a passionate AAA atmosphere better prepare players for a major league atmosphere than maybe a ballpark that doesn't get as many fans?
Yeah, I think in general. I mean, I know we've talked about it since August. We're looking to play. We're looking for guys that want to play on the big stage, want to play in the World Series when everybody's watching, and any experiences that we can create in a minor league, development setting, in which you're preparing your players to play in front of pressure spots and big situations and big stage. That's something that we think is a positive experience. So and here in El Paso, like you mentioned, you're not playing in front of 700 people every night. You're playing in front of a good audience, and I feel like that's a good development thing for us.
A.J., I'd like to ask you about the other guests that we have. What does Pat Murphy do well?
I think with Pat, I've always heard about Pat Murphy, over the years. He's obviously coaching at Notre Dame and then at ASU. I think, he's always had a lot of success, and, coming here and getting a chance to be around him, it's pretty easy to see why he's successful. He's very unique in the way he motivates guys. I think he connects with kids. He connects with with players, and I think he's able to bring out the best in each one of his players. I think he's a motivator, honestly, and I think he pushes the right buttons. And the biggest thing is, I think sometimes you have some coaches that are a little bit afraid sometimes, or timid to hit somebody dead on or hit somebody straight on with what they need to do. And just a little bit of time I've had a chance to be around Pat. That's definitely not something he lacks in. He's able to go and talk to somebody pretty straight on about what they need to accomplish to be a winning player, or also to try and get to the big leagues and help us win. So.
And our other guest, Cody Decker, multiple times has led the entire Padres organization in home runs. Is he somebody the Padres have their eye on, have on their radar if some shuffling happens, if an injury happens? Is he somebody you have an eye on?
Yeah, I think with Cody, I think I have not, honestly, personally, I haven't seen Cody play a lot over the years. But I think he's somebody that he provides power. And it's hard to find in the game somebody that has a chance to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And you just see work ethic, you see determination, you see love for the game. And I think that's what we're going to try to be about with the Padres at the big league level. And guys that love it, guys that it's the only thing they want to do, is to win as a group. Those are going to be the guys that we're going to give opportunity to. So.
AJ, as far as your background, grew up in Long Island, New York, grew up a Yankees fan. What were you like as a kid as far as your baseball fandom?
I was, I think just like Pat said, it was a way of life, honestly. I think, growing up in New York, it's a little different than today. I think in today's, when I go out, I go across the country. The last 10 years, I worked overseeing the scouting department for the Texas Rangers, and you see a lot of, high school, college, junior high, 14, 13, 12-year-old kids in Latin America. And especially in the States, baseball's almost become, it's almost where you have to play baseball year round. It's kind of you don't play other sports, you don't bounce around other things. Me growing up in New York, really just depended on the season. In the fall you either played football or soccer, in the winter you played basketball, in the summer you played baseball. But baseball, year round was always something you thought about, always trying to figure out what the Yankees needed to do to get better. I probably grew up a Yankee fan at the one time where they actually weren't good in the late 80s, early 90s. I think I sat around, thinking if Chuck Carey could win 15 games, they had a chance that year, which really never happened. But it was definitely like a passion, a way of life, something that I love doing, and obviously carry that on today.
Has your family converted to Padres fans?
Yeah, I think my nephew's the only kids in New York that walk around with Andrew Kastner jerseys on at school. So no, they're locked in. They're all about the Padres in New York.
So you're very strong academically growing up. You end up going to Cornell. This is amazing. When I first read this, I did a double take. There's only 30 Major League general managers. And John Daniels, the general manager of the Texas Rangers, and AJ, the general manager of the Padres, were college roommates at Cornell. So you guys are walking around Ithaca, New York. Did you ever think that would be the case?
No, I don't think you can set out to be a general manager. There's only 30 jobs, like this in the world. I think, we love sports. We love talking baseball. I got into it right after college. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was willing to go anywhere and do anything to do it. John actually, he's the general manager of the Rangers now. He actually went into business. He worked for Dunkin' Donuts. He was the donut guy, I guess, at 5 a.m. making the donuts. And I would just encourage him. I would talk to him about, that I think there was opportunity for guys that were intelligent and loved the game and could bring some different things to the ball, to a team. And I think the one thing I did over the course of time was basically just I just wanted to do whatever it was I was doing. I just wanted to be part of a winning group and a winning team and do it well, and then kind of let the chips fall. So we never talked about, hey, I think both of us ended up being general managers, just kind of happened. But yeah, it's definitely been a unique thing.
The Padres had a great winter meetings reception. They invited the Chihuahuas staff. And one of your coworkers told me that when you were working for the Rangers overseeing scouting, it was common that you would spend 300 nights a year in a hotel somewhere in the United States covering a minor league game, scouting internationally. What's that lifestyle like, almost every day of the year in a hotel?
That's a blast. I think people think like you're just traveling year-round and it's like this luxurious, this luxurious thing where you're in the Dominican Republic or Venezuela. There's been plenty of times you wake up and you're like, where am I exactly? You don't even remember. But it's two things that I love doing was traveling and baseball. And you're able to combine them together and have a great time the last 10 years. It's definitely a grind. There's moments like, where you're going to 3 cities in a day, or you're going, you're on 4 flights in a day, and, Anyone that's ever flown on American Airlines that much, it's probably not the easiest thing to do, but that was the last 10 years for me. It was 300 days a year on the road, and basically I was overseeing the scouting department for the Rangers, and it was basically just going out and trying to find talent, trying to find impact championship level people and players that you wanted to put your name on, and you felt like you had a chance to lead your organization to a World Series.
So December 18th and December 19th, AJ and the Padres baseball operations team acquire Matt Kemp, Justin Upton, Derek Norris, and Will Myers, 3 Major League All-Stars and a former AL Rookie of the Year. And as amazing as accumulating that many players was that it was announced in a 2-day span. All of these flurry of trades happened. So San Diego's buzzing about the Padres in December, something that doesn't always happen there when there's a big Chargers game coming up like there was the week you made all those trades. Did you have a chance to sit back and soak in that fan enthusiasm, or are you on to the next call and the next text?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time it was obviously pretty busy, and you really didn't get a chance to to sit back and really see it. I know, like, I think the first three months on the job or so, I probably could have walked around downtown with no shirt on, and no one would have cared or really mentioned anything or said anything. I think after those couple of days and kind of the windfall of trades, I think it was people were excited, and it wasn't what we set out to do. We weren't looking to try to lead baseball in headlines and kind of become the talk of the hot stove media talk in the off season. But I do think, like Cody said, it's supposed to be fun. Like, baseball's supposed to be fun. Fans are supposed to be excited, and I think it's been a nice part to see in San Diego and around the country. When you go around, people are talking about the Padres, and I think it's because they're excited, and that's. You want to hopefully put a team on the field that's successful, and you want to put a team on the field that, that generates interest, and I think we've at least we've done that the last few months, and see how things play out here in San Diego this year.
It's a funny story about people suddenly recognizing you. You can't walk around without a shirt on downtown, as you described. How has your life changed since now you're a household name in San Diego?
No, I mean, it's I think. Really, I don't think too much has changed that way. I moved out of a hotel for the first time in 10 years. Moved to an apartment last week, so.
Wait, last week?
Yeah.
You got the job in August. You were in a hotel from, wow.
Yeah, I couldn't get out of the Marriott. I need to get some more points, so. Over $2 million right now in Marriott. So if this doesn't work out and these moves don't work out, I think I can live in a Marriott for the next 3 years, free of cost, so. But yeah, no, I mean, it's been so busy, honestly. It's been a whirlwind from day one when I took the job, and I think I haven't really had a chance to sit back and see too much. I think we're getting ready for spring training, and that's really what we've been focused on.
The San Diego Union Tribune did a great, thorough article about AJ, and in there it said that when you travel, you keep a deflated basketball and a pump in your suitcase, and wherever you are, you go find some park and you play pickup basketball. Have you shot any hoops in El Paso yet?
No, I think Pat said he lined something up for me tomorrow morning, though. So
really?
Yeah. The key at the end of this is if anybody has a good pickup game, come up to me tonight and let me know. Because when I come back this year, I'll be able to play. But yeah, somehow at I don't know, 5'9", 150 pounds, I had a chance to play a little bit in school, and I enjoy it. I like to play basketball.
So do you play most days?
Don't tell the owners, but
okay.
Yeah, I play this supposed 24-hour-a-day baseball guy. I still try to play a lot of basketball.
So that'll stay a secret. Nobody tweet that. Well, I'm winding down. Just a question or two before we go to the audience. A couple weeks ago, I was making some notes, and my wife said, "What are you going to ask A.J. Preller?" And the first thing was sleep. And you might say, what? So all these articles, MLB Network talked about it, USA Today, ESPN.com, San Diego Union Tribune. All of these articles say that AJ sleeps 3 or 4 hours a day. Is this true?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody works hard in baseball. I mean, that's just the bottom line. It's always been something like the sleep thing's always been something that I've done ever since probably college, honestly.
Really?
And I think it's like. Sure, everybody's had when you're excited and you're passionate, you wake up and you're ready to go. So I think that's definitely been the last few weeks, and I don't know, the 3-hour thing, we'll see, but it's definitely definitely been an on the go type thing so far. So.
Well, we got an email question from Kirk Patterson, who is a seasoned seat holder for the Chihuahuas, and he writes, quote, "With all of the trades, what or who will be the key to team chemistry? I assume Matt Kemp will be the clubhouse leader. Who will be the gritty spark plug player?" Great writing, Kirk. We're going to have you host next year. That was a good question. So it's a good point, though. All these new players, how do you focus on team chemistry?
I think it's going to be a big part of it. I mean, when you bring in, a lot of new faces and, a lot of guys that are going to kind of be feeling their way through things for the first time, that's what, spring training is going to be for. I think, credit, on the Magic side, when we talk every day to Buddy and talk to him about some of these trades and what we had a chance to do, and talk to Buddy, hey, maybe some of these pieces may not fit perfectly. But I think the one thing he said was, hey, like, first of all, give me the talent. I want some impact type players. But he said, hey, we'll figure this thing out. And I think it's something between, like, we still have a foundation of guys and a core group of guys that have been with the Padres here for the last few years that we feel good about. And I think combining that with some new faces coming in from other clubs that have, I think 4 or 5 of those guys that we acquired played in the playoffs here in the last few years. And that's up to the coaching staff to create an atmosphere and environment, and feel confident Buddy's going to create that environment this year for our guys.
All right, we have a few more minutes. Let's open it up to the audience. You have a Major League GM right here. What do you want to ask him? I want to ask him about the socks. Okay, there's Ivan, our photographer, and his question is about AJ's socks. Do you want to talk about your socks?
Yeah, those are Allen Iverson, vintage Allen Iverson version socks. No, I think
Allen Iverson is on his socks, Sixers jersey.
When I heard I was going to have to speak after Pat and Cody and their comedy routine, I knew I wasn't going to be that funny. Figured I'd have to bring something to get people laughing, so I went with the Iverson socks, but people can't really see them. So.
All right. It's a good question, Ivan. So Andy's ready with a wireless microphone. I'm sure we have some questions here. Major League GM, only 30 of them.
My name's Darren Hunt. AJ, my wife and I are big supporters of the ballpark. I think we're among friends today, so we can say that. But love our ballpark. We're big Cowboy fans, and we're also big Ranger fans. We're proud Texans. So one thing that Cal Ripken said during the playoffs last year about Camden Yards, he said it felt like baseball had been played there before. This is a 3-part question, by the way. First part of it is, what do you like most about our ballpark? When he said that, it kind of hit me. That's what I love most about our ballpark. It feels like a throwback when you enter the ballpark. You feel like you're going to a game many years ago. What do you like best about our ballpark? Second question, since the Cowboys got screwed last weekend, what can the NFL learn about the way that Major League Baseball has handled replay and things like the transfer rule, where they got together and got it right? It seems like baseball gets it right for its fans, and the NFL doesn't get it right. And the third question is, how do you think your buddy JD will do this year? Can the Rangers bounce back and win the AL West?
Some thorough questions. You must be a journalist.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ballpark, I think the biggest thing to me, it's like what you touched on, it's the feel. I think, like I said earlier, and I know the first time as a kid when Camden Yards opened, I went there to watch a Yankee-Oriole game with my dad, and it was just, you walk in, it was kind of like that feeling from, like when you watch Field of Dreams, it's kind of magical, it's just a feel, like in terms of you go in and you see the atmosphere and the environment, and that's the way, the park here felt to me. Like you walk in, it was kind of a throwback and brings you back to a different era, and it just had that, like that good feel to it. I think, as far as the Cowboys situation, I'm a huge Giant fan growing up in New York, so I thought it was a great call last week. So I got no issues with NFL replay. Seemed good to me. And, as far as JD and John Daniels and the Rangers, no, I think they're going to do very well. I mean, I think they've, last year was, probably a historically fluky type season with all the injuries they had. And I think they have a lot of talent. I think they have a lot of good people there, and I think they're probably going to be a surprise team in the American League next year.
All right. Any questions out there? Someone in the middle here.
Hi, my name is Barbara, and I wanted to know, what are we going to do about the pitching? We know that you can go out and get the bats, but what are we going to do? Because we are in the National League. That's
probably the first question about Padre pitching. How do we improve it in a while? I think No, I mean, I think it really does, though, come down to pitching and defense, you know, to start with, and then obviously, having the offensive side to balance the club. I think, you know, when we made these moves, we wanted to make sure we didn't affect the big league pitching staff too much. We had a chance to make the deals without moving Andrew Kashner or Tyson Ross or Ian Kennedy, who are, top 3 starters, and we still feel, like really on the depth-wise in the starting staff, we're going to be pretty solid. And we did the same thing without really affecting the back of our bullpen. And we also made 2 moves after the new year to acquire Brandon Maurer, who is 24-year-old pitcher with the Mariners with big fastball and big stuff, and had a lot of success in the second half of last year. And Sean Kelly from the Yankees, who's kind of pitched the 7th, 8th inning for the Yankees the last few years. So I think everything was, you got to have balance, and it does start with that day's starting pitcher. We understand that. But I think we feel pretty good that we were able to go acquire some bats without taking away from the pitching, taking away from our strength, which was a goal of ours this offseason, and I feel like we're going to have a much more balanced club this year.
All right, let's take one more question for A.J. Preller.
I had a question about that Justin Upton trade, or the acquired from the Atlanta Braves. Some of his best years were actually playing with his brother B.J. Upton, and I know statistically he's just not doing as well as he should. Have you ever considered bringing his brother with him as well, because that's when he did his best work?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the thing with Justin, he's been a good player, like in pretty much anywhere, anytime. I mean, he was kind of a high school phenom. He was a 9th grader playing in Blair Field in Long Beach State at the Area Code Games, which is a kind of a high school showcase for young kids. Hit a ball out of Blair Field at that age, which is pretty much unheard of. And then he went out. He was the first pick overall in the country, and was in the big leagues at 20 years old, I want to say, with the D-backs, and was an all-star within a few years. So, and then obviously went to Atlanta with his brother the last couple of years. But I think we feel pretty confident, with Justin. He's going to be a good player wherever he is, and putting him with Matt Kemp and Will Myers and some of the other guys. Look forward to him having a big year. So.
It's interesting what you just said, that these players that you're acquiring, players around the major leagues, many of them you remember when they were kids.
I think it's a big part to me. Like the scouting process is, I think for the most part you're betting on people. And I think there's been a lot of talk. You see, somebody maybe see the Moneyball movie, or you see kind of like the analytics wave right now and the stats wave. I think at least with the Rangers the last 10 years when I was there, and I think the best decisions you have, whether it's any business or whether it's in sports or baseball, is when you get quality people and you get to know them in and out and up and down. You know the family, who the influential people are around them. You know how they're going to react in tough times, tough spots. And I think if you have a scouting group that you start to build that history on somebody from the time they're 15, 16 years old. A lot of times guys don't change. And a lot of times, when you have that history, it enables you to make better decisions. And I think it's something that we pride ourselves on here with the Padres, and we're going to pride ourselves in the next few years, is knowing the ins and outs and getting deep and knowing the history of guys from the time they're in high school up until throughout their amateur career and then into their pro career. So.
Well, Chihuahuas fans, let's thank A.J. Preller, Padres GM.